War. It feels like it's been a part of human history forever, right? A constant and often catastrophic force. But here's the thing. While the act of war might seem straightforward, our understanding of it is anything but. It's actually a story, a narrative that's been written and rewritten for centuries by some very different authors.
So it really makes you wonder, how do we actually make sense of conflict? Where do our ideas about its causes, its nature, and its consequences really come from? Who's authoring that story for us?
Well, the idea we're going to explore today is that our understanding of war is pretty much shaped by two distinct and sometimes competing perspectives. On one side, you've got the storyteller. Think of the novelist, the poet, the filmmaker. They're all about the raw human experience, the emotion, the empathy of it all. But on the other side, you have the scholar. This is your historian, your political scientist. They use systems, data, and theory to look at conflict from a more detached, structural point of view.
Okay, so let's dive right into this. How do these two different authors explain the very beginning of a war? Why does it even start?
The storyteller, someone like the ancient poet, Homer, for instance, often points to these really fundamental human drives. The Iliad doesn't frame the Trojan War as some complex geopolitical calculation. Not at all. It's all about pride, honor, revenge, and glory. It's this intensely personal story, all about powerful emotions that just spiral out of control into a decade of bloodshed.
But then the scholars come in with a completely different lens. They argue that to truly understand why wars begin, you have to look past all that individual drama and see the systemic pressures. It's not just about one person's pride, it's about whole societies competing for scarce resources, or the instability that comes from power imbalances. Or, as a theory like realism suggests, it's just states trying to survive in a chaotic world without a global 911.
All right, let's move on from why wars start to how they are actually fought. This is where the contrast between our two authors gets even sharper. For the storyteller, the battlefield is just a sensory overload. If you've ever read a book like The Red Badge of Courage, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's not about troop movements on a map. It's about the psychological journey of a single soldier. The terror, the confusion, the smoke, the noise. The storyteller basically puts you right there in the mud and the chaos. The scholar, on the other hand, pulls the camera way, way back. So where the storyteller puts you in the mud, the scholar gives you the satellite view. They analyze the battlefield through the cold, hard logic of military science, a discipline that's all about strategy, logistics, and ballistics. The goal here isn't to field a battle, but to understand its machinery.
And this scholarly approach, it's been evolving for millennia. It's really this long, ongoing conversation, right? From Sun Tzu's ancient focus on deception to Clausewitz's famous idea that war is just politics by other means, all the way up to today's super complex world of cyber attacks and asymmetrical warfare. Each step just adds a new layer of analysis, a new way to understand the machine.
So, after all the fighting is done, what's the legacy of war? This is where we see its greatest paradox, its incredible power to be both an ultimate destroyer and somehow a powerful creator.
The storyteller's version of war's aftermath is just one of unflinching horror and trauma. The poet Wilfred Owen, writing from the trenches of World War I, he doesn't talk about redrawn maps. He talks about the recurring nightmare of watching a fellow soldier die in a gas attack. This is the profound, devastating, and deeply personal cost of conflict.
And yet, if you look at it from a wider perspective, you see a really contradictory truth. For all of its immense destruction, war often acts as this powerful catalyst. It forces huge societal shifts and drives these incredible bursts of technological and medical innovation. And that's a reality that can feel deeply uncomfortable when you set it against the human cost.
It's a pretty stark paradox. Scholars can trace direct lines from major conflicts to massive global changes. Empires fall, new nations are born, technologies like radar and penicillin get developed at lightning speed, and social norms, like the role of women in the workforce, are completely upended. For the scholar, war isn't just an end, it's a violent engine of change.
Okay, let's move to our final section and see how all of this comes together and what it really means for how we understand conflict today.
So the crucial point is this: neither perspective is enough on its own. In fact, they kind of need each other. The storyteller's narrative, without the scholar's analysis, can just feel like pure emotion without any context. But the scholar's analysis, without the storyteller's empathy, risks becoming this sterile and dangerously detached view of human affairs. To really grasp the full picture of war, you truly need both the poem and the equation.
And that leaves us with a final question to think about. Consider the news you read, the movies you watch, and the analysis you consume. Are you getting the perspective of the storyteller, the scholar, or maybe a dialogue between the two? How are the authors of today shaping your understanding of the conflicts that are defining our world right now?